So this is the NVC model. There's two parts. Honesty, empathy, also known as speaking and listening, also known as giving and receiving. And then we call them honesty and empathy. And under each of these tabs, there are four components or four elements. Observation, feeling, need. We talked about universal human needs a little bit. And request. Something super briefly about requests. I'm just going to go on a slight diversion because it just came up and it's present. I grew up in a very loving, a very confused household. And there was a lot of confusion about how to motivate each other. You saw that list over here. I think guilt was a big one in my house. But there was a funny definition of love, and I want to see if it resonates for other people or if it seems familiar, if you recognize it. The definition of love was, if you really loved me, you would know what I'm needing, when I'm needing it, and how I want it, and you would give it to me, how I want it, when I want it, without me even having to ask. Because if I have to ask, well, it's just not the same. Anybody notice that and recognize that one? Yeah. So the sad part about that is that the yardstick for how much other people care is how psychic they are. And it doesn't quite work. So in NVC, we take responsibility for what we're wanting by making a clear request. However, key distinction, key differentiation, we'll look at these today. We're gonna distinguish between requests and demands. So in a demand, your needs don't matter equally to my needs. But in a true request, I can hear a no with as much love as a yes. In a true request, you have choice. In a demand, you don't. I just want the thing done. Do it or else, my way or the highway. That's the demand. So in NVC, we're taking responsibility by making clear requests. I'll show you some other differentiations as we go through this, but the thing I really want to point out about this is that this is not NVC. Raise your hand if you're confused. The reason that this is not NVC is that what NVC is primarily is it's the consciousness and the intentionality that we bring to our interactions. If my intention is to create a high quality of connection and to work toward a win-win outcome, then that's consistent with NVC, and I don't care about the word so much. If my intention is to get my way or to manipulate a specific outcome, I can use words that sound like this all day and it wouldn't be NVC. So this can be used as a subtle form of manipulation if the consciousness isn't in the right place. So again, the reason this is not NVC is because what NVC is primarily is the consciousness and the intentionality that I bring to my interactions. This gives me tools. This gives me skillful means to be more effective in that intention. But if I have a jackal intention, Marshall used to call it a jackal dressed in giraffe clothing. My intention is to manipulate a specific outcome or try to get my way. I can use words that sound like this, but it's not NVC. I want to be very clear. So that's why I labeled it the NVC model, because that's what it is. These are the tools. And what we're going to be working on today is formal NVC. And there's a whole spectrum all the way to street giraffe, which is where we want to be really most of the time in everyday life. But in a workshop setting, we work with formal NVC. It has some very important purposes. It trains your attention for where to go. And it's also helping us keep these key differentiations very clear. So let me here show you another one. So an observation is just the facts, just a neutral, what a video camera would pick up or what an audio recorder would pick up. Not evaluation or interpretation. So when the guy threw his cigarette at the gas pumps, and I was like, what a fucking idiot. That last part was obviously, evaluation, interpretation, some judgment. It wasn't the observation. But when I went up to talk to him, I said, when you threw your cigarette in the direction of the gas pumps. I didn't say when you stupidly threw your cigarette, when you mindlessly threw your cigarette. I mean, I had all those judgments. I just didn't think it would serve to share them. So I kept my observation really clean. Just the facts, just like neutrally what happened. Then we have a whole set of things that sound like feelings, what we call faux feelings. It's a type of language that sounds like feeling, like an expression of feeling, but it's not, and it can get in the way of the quality of connection. I'll describe two types of faux feelings. One is anytime I say, I feel that, I feel as if, or I feel like, what's going to follow is a thought, not a feeling. I feel like it might rain, not a feeling. I might have feelings about that. I feel that I am right. You can't tell me I'm not, it's just what I feel, Joshua. Yeah, not an actual feeling there. I feel as if you are making fun of me, not a feeling.
For the you. I feel like you are.
I feel like you are, yeah. Or I've heard this before, I feel like hitting you. It's like, I'm sure there are feelings there, but that's not a feeling. Okay, so that's one type of faux feelings. As if, like, feel that. The other type are trickier in the sense that they sound just like feelings, and we use them in common everyday speech, but they do have a slight evaluation mixed in. So, and I'll show you a couple litmus tests, a couple little filters I run them through just to separate the faux feelings from the actual feeling. But these are things like, I feel boxed in, I feel condescended to, I feel attacked, I feel abused, I feel ignored. These are images of what somebody's doing to me. So the first kind of litmus test, or the first filter I run these through is, rather than an actual emotion, is this an image of what somebody's doing to me? I feel condescended to, or I feel attacked. Everyone, just a second, everyone here knows what it feels like to be attacked, right? Raise your hand. Okay, well, I want to give you some pushback on that. And here's the second litmus test, or the second little filter I ran through. If different people could have different actual emotions when they see themselves that way. So when Sean sees himself as attacked, he might feel angry. Or and when Ian sees himself as attacked, he might feel afraid. I'm forgetting your name. Haley. When Haley sees herself as attacked, she might feel confused. So different people, when they see themselves receiving that thing, or I feel condescended to, or I feel boxed in, or I feel ignored. Right? The other day I felt ignored, and I was super relieved because I didn't want anything to do with that person. So ignored is not a feeling. Right? It's an image of what somebody's doing to you, and different people could have different emotions. So that's one way that you tease out the faux feelings. Is that right?
So it seems like some of those things could also be valuable things to communicate to others. Like if you are, well, one thing is, I don't know how I would express, that I'm interpreting what's happening as being attacked or as an attack on me. Like it's valuable to communicate that because it shows the other person that they're,
it can be
kind of being violent with their words.
Yeah. It can be super valuable. So can I give you an example that's supporting what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off though. Do you want to keep going?
Well, the last thing was, and like feeling ignored.
Yeah.
Feeling like I'm not being heard.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I would also want to communicate.
Yeah.
But that's also mixed in, like it's kind of saying two things at once, right? And do you remember that I talked about we have a spectrum from formal all the way to street giraffe? Yeah.
So a lot of these things actually could be street giraffe. Mm-hmm. If the consciousness is coming from a place of looking for a high quality of connection, that could be informal NPC.
Okay.
But for example, I might say something like, when you walked up to me as fast as you did with your fists clenched and stopped a foot from me, I interpreted that as an attack. Mm-hmm. See, that way I'm still owning my interpretation, but I'm able to separate it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the attack is an observation, because that person might have been, it might have been like, the house is on fire, like maybe they're trying to alert me, they're not trying to attack me. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's one way that I can communicate my interpretation and still own it and communicate that. And some of the other things, like if you said, oh, Alan, the way you're acting with me, I feel ignored. I might ask you, okay, so what did I say or do that's leading to that? And then I might just ask some questions just to get more connected. So is it that you're feeling some disappointment because you were really wanting some understanding and some connection? And then you could tell me yes or no if that's it. So we could go a little deeper instead of because there's a slight accusation that I'm doing something to you.
Yeah.
It can be subtle, it can be implied. Maybe you don't even mean it. That you're not intending to imply that. But if the other person hears it and they get defensive, and then your conversation became an uphill climb. So that's one of the reasons why it's helpful to keep it super clear. If the trust is high, then Street Giraffe is perfect. One of my closest male friend and I, we live on 25 acres out there with Tess and some other people in the community. My buddy Cody, we see each other across the land, and one of us or the other, the way we greet each other, is like, "Hey, what's up, fucker?" But what that means, if you unpack it into NVC, is when I see you over there on the land, I feel joy in my heart. My need for brotherhood and companionship is met. So would you be willing to just take this in? But we use a shorthand, a Street Giraffe shorthand. Yeah.
Okay, so I heard you say this too. If you were, say, feeling attacked,
yeah,
is your feeling then that you are on the defense, or it can be? Is that considered? Is that a faux?
If you're perceiving yourself as attacked,
yes.
What's your question?
So would the feeling behind it, is this a faux feeling or a feeling to be defensive?
That's a good question. I think of defensiveness as a sort of a complex of a bunch of things.
So that I have a need for safety.
It could be a need for safety, yeah.
So,
yeah, or it could be a desire for understanding. It could be a need around understanding.
Right. So it could be a faux feeling.
It could be, yeah. Although, that's a tricky one, defensiveness. But under the defensiveness, there may be a whole bunch of things like feeling anxious and feeling some fear and
guarded.
So yeah, for example, the important thing to remember. So we can get into the feelings. So when we get into feelings versus faux feelings, there's a certain level, and people who come to the 9-day intensives really get into this. It's sort of like a word yoga, and we're really parsing is when that person said, when you took the pen that I was using, I felt hurt because I really value. And then somebody's like, what is hurt? Is that blame? Is that an actual feeling? And so we get into these, we start splitting hairs. And I want to bring us back to the purpose is connection. And the purpose is hearing and understanding each other. So there's a certain level at which the parsing of the distinctions becomes secondary to actually are we getting each other? Yeah. But then in a workshop setting like this, we can get into the word yoga really for sure. And for example, with hurt, I want to make sure the person hears a noun, not a verb. So I might say, I'm feeling some hurt inside. Because it's so easy for the other person to add by you when I say I feel hurt. Yeah.
Because when you say that's not a feeling, that does not help the conversation.
In the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, so actually what Joshua just did is he sort of lit up part of the mental radar for everybody when you go home. When you're trying to have a connection conversation, something that will get in the way is if you start correcting people left and right. That's not a need. That's not a feeling. Instead, we want to do this. We want to put these ears on, right? Our own invisible pair, in and out. So we can discuss those nuances in this kind of setting. But then when you're interacting with people in everyday life, it's really about connection, not about using the right words. Yeah.
I wanted to say thank you because trying to differentiate between feeling and need was a really new activity for me, and I've been doing that word yoga for myself. And it was also good to hear that that's not the point. However, like yoga, the point is to have a healthy body so you can do the things you want to do. to remember that you don't stop doing things you want to do because you have a class in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's helpful.
Thank you. Good. I'm glad. Is there another question? Oh, okay.
That's my
Oh.
sore finger.
Oh, you're sort of when you hammered me. Because you were like this. Is that another question? Okay. I wanna kiss the owie on the finger, make it better. I have children, so used to it. Okay. Any other questions so far on that? Or let me just show you this other key differentiation. Really, really crucial between needs and strategies. Needs are, we talked about universal human needs. Strategies are the ways we go about meeting needs. So I have a need for safety and protection. When I go home, my strategy might be I go out and I get to know all my neighbors. And that strategy contributes to my need for safety and protection. One of my neighbors goes out and buys a couple of assault rifles. But it's the same need, safety and protection. It's just they have a totally different strategy. And my other neighbor, I hardly ever see them because their strategy for safety and protection is they triple lock all the doors and windows and close the blinds and they hide under the bed. Same need, safety and protection, just very different strategies. So for any set of needs, there could be 100 or 10,000 strategies. That's why when we're having a conversation between the two of us, and down here there's some kind of solution, I want to slow down my tendency to jump here prematurely. And I want to make sure that we're surfacing what's important to you and what's important to me. And now that we understand each other, yes, go here. But sometimes we jump to fix it before we're reconnecting. So one thing NBC teaches me is connection before solution. And connection before correction. So there's workplace examples where somebody makes a decision from top down about what's going to happen before any connection happens, and what happens? People drag their feet. There's subtle sabotaging. I see it in parent-child relationships. I see it in intimate relationships all the time. That something's not working when we jump to fix it instead of spending some time here first. Yes.
I feel like yes. I feel like this has come up a lot for me in my life and my relationships because I'm very like solution based, and that's like how I was raised to express care was to like try and help people come to solutions quicker. So it's a lot of like unlearning that for me. And a big part of that has been like understanding it as like a consent process to if both people, all people involved in the conversation or decision making want to go into solution.
If they're ready.
Yeah, and if like that's what they're wanting from this interaction.
Yes.
It can totally change the power dynamics and like the energy of the space to go into a solution.
Yeah.
So to be like, are you wanting a solution right now? Are you wanting like next step feedback? Are you wanting to stay in this like parsing out mode? Like, what are you wanting?
Yeah, I love that. Because, and I'm sure it's gotten you in trouble, jumping to fix it. And you said there's a lot of unlearning to do. I wouldn't want you to unlearn the creative problem solving, just the tendency to go there before connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.